Hello there, Bookfighters, and I want to start by saying that if you have not read The Fault in Our Stars or Looking for Alaska and you do not want them spoiled for you, then click off this video, leave, read them, and then return, because this video will contain major spoilers for both of those books. So a lot of the discussion this week has been about Looking for Alaska and The Fault in Our Stars and the relationship between which were our favourite John Green books before The Fault in Our Stars, and if that in any way affects our liking of The Fault in Our Stars. And the hypothesis is that it does, with Lauren being the exception. So I thought in order to understand this more accurately, I would give you a brief account of why I love Looking for Alaska and why it's one of my favourite books of all time, and why maybe subsequently, or maybe kind of objectively, I don't like The Fault in Our Stars. And I think ultimately it's to do with logic, and it's to do with the fact that I am a jaded and cynical reader. I'm not just a jaded and cynical reader, I'm a jaded and cynical watcher of movies and player of video games. When I picked up Looking for Alaska, the way it's set out, the chapters, if you don't know, if you haven't read it and you don't mind it being spoiled for you, the chapters are laid out like, oh, it's 20 days before, or 15 days before, and as you get closer it's 10 days before, and you're like, before what? And me, as a cynical reader, I'm thinking, well, this is glaringly obvious, they're gonna get together, they're gonna kiss. And usually that would bother me, but it was written in such a beautiful way, and I'd never experienced a writing of a relationship in this way before, on such a personal and kind of grounded level, that I was fine with that, and I was happy for this to just be kind of a nice read. I mean, there were such lovely moments, and I really cared about the characters as well. The scene where they're lying on the field and their hands graze and they blush, and it's kind of a warm summer's evening. It's just so beautiful, and I was loving it, and I was like fangirling and wanted them to get together, and I was kind of waiting, and it was counting down. And then when, spoiler, Alaska dies, and that's what it's been counting down to, I was a broken human being. I was broken. I might not have been the same since. Because it took me completely by surprise, but at the same time it didn't feel cheap. It felt right. It felt like, of course, everything, this has been building up to that. Her being reckless, her being unhappy, possibly depressed. It's all been building up to this. That's why this has happened. And the heartbreak and the slow realization, and you don't want to accept it, but you do, and you're with Miles the whole time, and oh. So then I apply the same logic to The Fault in Our Stars, and I'm reading The Fault in Our Stars, and I think it's a cancer book. Someone's gonna die. Is it gonna be Hazel? Probably not, because it's written in first person. I mean, let's not look what happened in An Imperial Affliction, right? So I'm thinking it's more than likely it's gonna be Augustus. We're supposed to think that it's gonna be Hazel, it's gonna be Augustus. That's what's going to happen, right? And it did, and that's what happened, and fine. Now, it's important to note that it's not just because I predicted it, because I've predicted endings in the past and it hasn't lessened my enjoyment of them. It was because I felt that it wasn't a very good route to go down. And more than that, I really didn't care very much about these characters, and I'm not sure why. I didn't feel like I got to know them very well. They didn't feel interesting to me. They felt kind of like, this is the box that this character goes in, and this is the box that this character goes in. Peter Van Houten went in several boxes, but I will dedicate an entire video to the tragicness of that character. And so ultimately, I felt like I knew the ending. I felt like I didn't care about the ending. And so as a result, I'm kind of left with this kind of empty experience. So hopefully that sheds some light on the situation. If it hasn't, well, let me know in comments or in a video response what you think, and Lauren, I will see you tomorrow.